Guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video on my channel, Hairliciously. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe so that you guys are updated on hair loss and hair transplant topics, as well as updates on current hair loss treatments in the pipelines. Visit my website at HAIRLICIOUSLY.com to purchase a microneedling device, which is scientifically proven to stimulate hair growth, my low-level laser therapy cap, DHT blocking shampoo, conditioner, and serum, hair growth vitamins, and a few other products to help those who are losing hair. So in today's video, I wanted to discuss about an interesting post that I read on the forum hairlosstalk.com. And apparently this guy was taking topical Dutasteride and he claims that it destroyed his hairline and he recommends everyone else to stay away from it. So here's the post he wrote titled "Topical Dutasteride will destroy your hairline, stay away." And in that post, he says the following: "I can with confidence say when comparing photos 12 months back with today that topical Dutasteride destroyed my hairline and made my temples recede faster, and today it looks way worse than ever before." I've seen similar threads about the same question if Dutasteride destroys hairlines, and I can confirm for all of you out there that you should stay away from Dutasteride at all costs. And no, this is not bro science. Bro science are those studies and people on the internet who sell you BS to make money. This medicine is a multi-million industry and should be withdrawn from the market and internet immediately. There are only a few studies that show small hair improvement, and Dutasteride is not even FDA proven. It's not impossible that these studies have been paid to promote to make money from a chemical that will destroy your hair forever. 12 months of topical Dutasteride didn't stop receding hairline or reverse temples, but instead made it worse and faster to thinning my hair. Just because some random dudes post photos on his before and after the hair on Dutasteride does not mean it will work. Internet today is full of trolls, and those who talk positively about it often come from those who are selling Dutasteride but want to promote their product in a manipulative way that gets your attention. And then he also shares with us some before and after photos. This is 12 months ago. Pretty solid looking hairline. I would classify him as a Nord 1. Pretty good density. We can see the widow's peak in the front. The temples aren't receded at this point. And I honestly don't see any other thinning going on. So I'm not sure why this guy had jumped on something as potent as Dutasteride. And then 12 months later, after being on topical Dutasteride, we can see a noticeable difference to his hairline. So within a span of a year, this guy literally went from a Nord 1 to a Nord 3 with deep temple recession and far less density. And he claims that this was a result of being on topical Dutasteride monotherapy 2 to 3 times a week. Now, I have never heard of anyone blaming a 5-AR inhibitor like finasteride or Dutasteride in contributing to the acceleration of their hair loss. You know, typically the common thing that we hear is from the small minority of people who experience side effects pertaining to like sexual dysfunction, low libido, as a result of fluctuating hormonal profiles. So something definitely sounds off here. So let's go ahead and see what we can find. Now, I did scroll down through some of the comments to look for an answer as to determine what had possibly contributed to this guy's hair loss, despite being on something like topical Dutasteride. And it turns out that he claims that he was shedding and thinning, so he started taking it in hopes of stopping and slowing down further hair loss. And there was nothing in the post that really seemed to figure out exactly what had caused his accelerated hair loss, despite him taking topical medication. So some of the other commenters came up with a few theories as to what possibly could have happened. So let's just go over some of them, and later in this video, I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on what I think had basically contributed to his hair loss. Now, the first theory that somebody pointed out was the fact that it could have been due to his upregulation of testosterone from taking topical Dutasteride. This is a possibility since we know that 5-alpha reductase inhibitors inhibit testosterone from converting into DHT, which means that there is going to be an increase in endogenous testosterone levels. I don't know the exact numbers for topical Dutasteride due to the limited number of studies and the fact that it's actually used off-label for the treatment of androgenetic alopecia. But as far as oral Dutasteride is concerned, we do know that it can actually increase anywhere from like 15 to 20% serum testosterone levels. And while testosterone is many times less androgenic than DHT, there is a small minority of people who are especially sensitive to testosterone who will still experience exacerbated hair loss as a result. And with that said, even topical Dutasteride isn't going to wipe out all, scalp DHT levels. As a matter of fact, studies show that 0.5 milligram of oral Dutasteride lowers scalp DHT levels by around like 51%. So assuming that topical dutasteride is just as effective as the oral dutasteride, it's still not addressing the other 50% of scalp DHT that is not being accounted for. So there's a possibility that in this guy's case, he experienced an aggressive form of androgenetic alopecia that is still thriving on increased exogenous testosterone levels plus the unaccounted and leftover scalp DHT circulating in the system. Had he not taken topical dutasteride, is it possible that he wouldn't have accelerated his hair loss? So with that question, it's really asking about the possibility of how introducing something like topical dutasteride can somehow accelerate hair loss. So this brings up another theory that a few people had mentioned in the post, and it involves something known as androgen receptor upregulation, or it's also known as reflex hyperandrogenicity. And in a nutshell, some people claim that using a 5-AR inhibitor like finasteride or dutasteride, or even other anti-androgens, RU584-1, bicalutamide, clascoterone, fluorido, can upregulate the androgen receptors as a result of DHT inhibition, trying to compensate for the deprivation of DHT. And if you think about it, it's a pretty paradoxical effect since 5-AR inhibitors and anti-androgens are supposed to slow down the progression of hair loss. Yet we have some individuals who are claiming the complete opposite and saying that it actually accelerates hair loss. There's really no concrete and well-documented evidence in any scientific or clinical studies that finasteride, let alone dutasteride, can induce reflex hyperandrogenicity to such an extent that it will damage and cause further hair loss. But with that said, I did come across some research and a study from 2014 titled "Finasteride Treatment Alters Tissue-Specific Androgen Receptor Expression in Prostate Tissues. Epithelial androgen receptor, but not stromal androgen receptor expression was significantly lower in patients treated with finasteride than in non-treated patients. Androgen receptor regulated prostate-specific antigen was not significantly decreased in finasteride-treated patients." So here's a representation of epithelial and stromal androgen receptors. And as you guys can clearly see, they were both lower for finasteride treatment groups. So, the study then leads us to believe that finasteride users would see a downregulation of androgen receptors in certain tissues, such as the prostate, as opposed to the claimed upregulation. However, I did find another study in 2011 titled "Finasteride Upregulates Expression of Androgen Receptor in Hyperplastic Prostate and LNC AP cells, Implications for Chemoprevention of Prostate Cancer." And in the study, researchers evaluated 47 cases of benign prostatic hyperplasia treated with variable duration of 5 mg finasteride before transurethral resection of the prostate. AR expression in prostate tissue was semi-quantified by immunostaining and compared with duration of finasteride treatment. Immunohistochemical study revealed significant upregulation of ARs by finasteride treatment for 30 to 180 days. In cell line study, quantitative real-time reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction revealed significant upregulation of ARs treated by finasteride. So this study actually shows that finasteride influenced AR expression in benign prostate tissue, which theoretically would support the fact that finasteride and even dutasteride, both which are 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, could potentially have accelerated his hair loss due to reflex hyperandrogenicity, resulting in androgen sensitivity. So once again, we have conflicting information, and the limited number of research that we do have is not going to be consistent and adequate to, eventually make a compelling determination. And we're obviously going to need more thorough research needed on a larger sample size to clarify the influence of finasteride and dutasteride in androgen receptors and its regulation pathway. I think reflex hyperandrogenicity is very possible, although it is a rare phenomenon, as the body can upregulate to achieve equilibrium, which is, in this case, can potentially negate the positive benefits of finasteride or dutasteride. Even if somebody is not taking high doses of 5-AR inhibitors, I think it's still possible. I've read on forums of people who claim that they're experiencing reflex hyperandrogenicity, and they started experiencing things like increase in oil secretion, more pimples on the face, acne, even higher libido, which can be a result from upregulation, and the body has basically responded to an inhibition of DHT levels and therefore increased the hypersensitivity of its androgen receptors. And because of the possibility of this very reason, I think what this guy needs to really do is just reassess his hair loss treatment stack. First of all, I would recommend him to get on an anti-androgen to target directly the androgen receptors on his scalp. He can hop on, RU or fluorido, clasicoterone, alpha-estradiol. He should definitely throw in a growth stimulant like topical minoxidil and microneedling and tretinoin to beef up his density and potential regrowth. Maybe look into things like oral minoxidil, which has been shown to have favorable results. And I would also recommend that he try oral or topical finasteride because it inhibits, lower levels of scalp and serum DHA levels. There is a possibility that it might work better without the so-called reflex hyperandrogenicity that other people are referring to. If he does decide on getting on oral finasteride, it might help that he microdose in the beginning to limit potential adverse side effects. It's something that he really needs to kind of figure out by trial and error because at this point, nobody really seems to exactly know what is going on with his hair loss. It could be that despite Dutasteride, he just has an aggressive form of hair loss that is still exacerbated by existing endogenous androgens. I do know that some people have also reported massive hair loss after the onset of COVID, especially from the vaccinations. We obviously don't know what his medical history or profile is, so it really opens up a lot of possibilities on what could potentially be causing his alleged accelerated hair loss. But I will say that cases like this are extremely rare. I haven't seen a whole lot of people who are on something as potent as Dutasteride and continue to lose hair. And because this guy, had a bad experience with topical Dutasteride, it doesn't make his post legitimate in the sense that, he should basically scare people and shun people away from using Dutasteride, causing basically fear-mongering in those who are potentially looking into some very, useful treatments for the treatment of hair loss. He doesn't even know if Dutasteride was the main cause for his hair loss. Dutasteride is a very potent 5-AR inhibitor that is FDA approved in Japan and Korea for the treatment of hair loss. And it's been approved for quite some time now. It's a very effective drug in inhibiting a good chunk of conversion of testosterone to DHT. And this is something that I personally would consider if finasteride loses efficacy, and I have no problem hopping on something like Dutasteride. So overall, hope this guy really figures out what the issue is. I basically gave you guys my opinion on what could potentially be, some of the reasons why he's losing hair, as well as some of the solutions that he might look into. Now, if you guys have also experienced this so-called reflex hyperandrogenicity, share in the comments below if you can think of other reasons that could have accelerated his hair loss. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what your opinion is and see what other options that this guy might have in treating his hair loss. Anyway, that wraps up this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.